All right, let's hop right in. So today, as you all know, you're here for LinkedIn marketing and how you're going to show up online in 2022. Before we hop into the event though, I do want to take a moment to do land acknowledgement and recognize that I am existing and living and working on the lands of the Dena'ina people here in Anchorage. If you would like, feel free to put your thanks, put your land acknowledgement from where you're tuning in from in the chat, and I would love to see where you guys are from. Naturally, of course, this is part of Alaska Startup Week, as you can see up here, which is a week-long event that is curated from a bunch of events that happen all across the state, celebrating startups, small businesses, obviously marketing, and everything in between. There's quite a few events that are happening today, tomorrow, and Friday as well, and Thursday. But with that, let's hop in. So just a quick intro, who the heck am I and why can I talk about this stuff? I feel like there is a huge industry online of like people who claim to be gurus and like know exactly what they're talking about, and that is so omnipresent on LinkedIn too. There's a lot of people who are like, hey, yeah, I know everything about everything, you should hire me. But it's not what I'm here to do. I've been doing LinkedIn marketing for about 3 years now. I've been an organic B2B copywriter, which is business to business for anyone who doesn't know, for about 4 years now. I moved into LinkedIn marketing when I realized how powerful it was, and I've spent the last 3 years refining this process of how I get clients on LinkedIn, how I help other people get clients on LinkedIn, and how we can all start creating more meaningful conversations that lead to the direction that you're hoping to find. And I'll be showing exactly how to do stuff like this today. These are some real things I've got my own clients. Okay, so let's hop right in. There's going to be 3 big things we're going to cover today. The first one's going to be your profile, and I'll do a quick walkthrough of my personal profile and show you every piece of the way. Number 2 will be engagement, and we'll talk more about what that means here soon. And then 3, we'll do content, and there's an asterisk there for a reason you'll find out later. So with that, I'm actually going to hop out of this and into LinkedIn. Let me know if you guys can see that. Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, so first things first, when you see this profile, this is what I see from my profile view. So this isn't what you'd see when you hopped into LinkedIn and looked at my profile. This is what I see when I hop into LinkedIn and see your profile. But I do have a question for you guys. What is the first thing that grabs your attention when you pop onto this LinkedIn profile in particular? Go ahead and drop in the chat. Cody says the banner image. Yep, that I agree completely. Sometimes it's the profile picture too. Anyone else agree with the banner image or like the profile picture or the big smile where it's under your name? Okay, cool. Yeah, the big smile. So there's a really prevalent trend on LinkedIn right now where people will actually put like a ring of color around their profile picture. And the intention there is to grab your attention to their profile picture, whether you're on their profile or they're out in the ether commenting on other people's stuff. And you're like, hey, that little red circle kind of grabs my eye. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The words under my name, the banner images, the profile picture, all of that above the fold is what we call it in marketing. It's that first thing you see when you first pop onto any web page. It's all meant to grab your attention. And that's exactly why it's all branded in my brand. You can see the yellow and the black and the white. That's pretty much the general colors I go for. My name obviously is nice and big. And then I do the lightning bolts because that's a little aspect of my brand because I try to be shocking. You'll see as well as we go along that I'm using every single piece of this profile. So I'm filling as much as possible without being obnoxious. You might not agree that it's not obnoxious, but I don't think it's obnoxious, and that's what matters. And using a little bit of storytelling here, right? So somewhat of an expert on LinkedIn. That's not my own quote. Again, I'm not here to like sell you guys anything. That's actually a recommendation I have at the bottom of my LinkedIn profile. You'll see how everything kind of wraps up together and becomes a nice little package. You'll see that like I talk about content, LinkedIn, copywriting, content marketing. That's actually a new feature on LinkedIn. And they're starting to really promote creators on LinkedIn and writers, because as you guys will find out later on, content creation on LinkedIn has actually gone up 60% since 2020. People are starting to catch on that LinkedIn's a powerful platform. This is all stuff that you wouldn't see if you looked at my profile, but this is all stuff that's valuable to you. So you'll see who many people have viewed your platform or your profile, your post views, search appearances. These are all very important things, and they're all things you can see on the free version. I don't pay for LinkedIn Premium. I don't think that I need it because I'm not a recruiter and I'm not looking for a full-time position. I do everything organically, so free version, free content, all of that. That's what I'm here to do. The second piece I want to really point out is this featured section. I think this is one of the strongest places that you can put a call to action. For those of you who don't know, a call to action is basically, what do you want the person to do who's reading this? Like, where do you want them to go? So for me, I want you to schedule a call with me, of course. I want to hop on a call. I want to talk to you. I want to be able to go face to face with you. And then there's also, because I'm a writer, a few of my examples of my written work. Activity. This is a big one that will come into when you start doing engagement. So I'll touch on it now since we're looking at it. But essentially, with activity, you can go into anyone's profile and see what they're doing on LinkedIn at any given time, like all over the platform. It doesn't matter. So you can look at all activity. And then you can also look at their posts and what they're posting on LinkedIn. But the all activity button will show you comments. It'll show you when they like something. It'll show you when they share something. It'll show you when you post something. You know, you'll see, like, recently I was active on LinkedIn, replying to comments and commenting on other people's posts. This is a really strong place to figure out where your audience actually is hanging out on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn also has really incredible search functions. You can search by people's name, you can search by their industry, you can search by their location, you can search by their title, you can search by keywords, like, and that's all on the free version. Like, it's pretty incredible the amount of power LinkedIn gives you to find the people you're looking for, whether that is to collaborate or to get a client or to find a new job or find a recruiter to help you find a job. Like, whatever you're using LinkedIn for, you can find them just by searching, which is pretty incredible because you don't get that power really anywhere else. Last but not least, I think the biggest place that you can really tell your story in depth is this about section. It's also called a summary. They changed it to about because, again, they're kind of moving more towards that people-to-people connection. They want people to create content. They want people to connect. They want people to stay on the platform. They want people to do business with people on LinkedIn. And kind of makes sense, right? So I do a pretty particular way of doing this. I have a lot of white space here. I do use emojis because I'm not scared of emojis, but of course, like, you know, if you're, for example, in financial, you may not want to do emojis, or you may not want to do anything that's, you know, I mean, I'm sure you guys saw it says cut the crap right at the beginning of my banner. You may not want to do that. And then everything else, I think you guys should know, you know, your experience. You can put links on your experience now. So for me, I would put a call to action. I would put some examples of my work. That's where you could put another call link. That's where you could put your portfolio, your resume, whatever you're using LinkedIn for. Some volunteer experience down here. And then last but not least is these two sections, the skills, endorsements, and the recommendation. So like I said, this isn't my quote, but that's the quote I put right at the top of my profile and my headline underneath my image. Everything kind of comes full circle. Yes, of course, I want people to read my full profile, but I have to be honest with you guys, no one's reading your full profile. Everyone's scanning, everyone's looking for the meat, everyone's looking for whatever they want to find. For recruiters, that might be a specific experience. For a client, that might be these recommendations. For someone who doesn't even know what you do, they might go to your about. So that's why every single piece of this I fill to completion as much as possible, so that wherever they're looking, they're finding something that they want to hear. A quick tip for getting recommendations, give them. Like, seriously, straight up, is give some recommendations to some of your colleagues and ask for them back. The funnel that I have going right now is anytime I finish a project with a client, I ask them for a LinkedIn recommendation because I want to build my profile and I want it to become stronger and stronger. But if you're just starting out, just ask some colleagues, you know, some people that you know would be happy to help you out, people who would give you a recommendation letter for new employment, or someone who would, you know, send you clients, you know, any day of the week if they found someone who was interested in what you do. Just send them a quick email. You know, you can be very personable here, and don't be afraid to ask. It's something that can really help your profile. As for skills and endorsements, I don't tend to ask for endorsements, but I do give them. So same concept. give endorsements, get endorsements. I find about 2 in 5 people will give them back without asking. But if you are like really trying to push to get that built, you know, like I have like 52 on copywriting here, which I feel pretty good about, but you can go more. You can go up to 99 plus, I believe. You can ask for them back directly. But the easiest way is just to start giving them. You know, it's in the spirit of Startup Week, it's that give first mentality. And LinkedIn is all about that too, as we will continue to talk about when we get to engagement. So we'll hop back in here. And before we break into that, let me know if you have any questions about profiles. And I will be doing a Q&A at the end so we can address them. But if they're coming to mind now, please pop them in the chat. Okay, so moving on to engagement. First things first, what I want you guys to know is what I mean by engagement is any action you're taking on LinkedIn that essentially isn't posting content. So commenting, DMing, connecting with people, commenting on other people's comments, commenting on other people's posts, any action that you're taking, that's what I call engagement. So when you're getting started with this engagement factor, and after you update your profile, I would say this is absolutely the most important piece of LinkedIn marketing is you really want to find that audience. So we touched on this before, where you can go to someone's profile, look at their activity feed, you can literally find where they're hanging out on LinkedIn. If someone's not been active on LinkedIn in the last 90 days, it'll tell you that. And you don't really want to pursue them on LinkedIn for obvious reasons. If they're not active, they're not going to respond to your DMs or anything. So definitely know what audience you're trying to attract the moment you step into LinkedIn marketing, because that'll make finding them so much more easier. And then from there, I actually really recommend spending a week doing nothing. So I know that seems counterintuitive, but rather than commenting or posting or DMing people or connecting with people, just hang out and lurk. I call it social listening because you're on social media listening to what conversations are happening, but you can pay attention to what other people maybe in your field are doing and how they're having conversations with people. You can find out what people are posting about. You can find out which posts have the most engagement because those are probably conversations you want to have with people. All of these things you can help, but just by watching, listening, paying attention, taking notes, you can really figure out what people are paying attention to, what they aren't, and then you can join the conversations that are worth having. And everything for me will wrap back around to having those meaningful conversations, because realistically, that's what I'm trying to do on LinkedIn. That's what I'm trying to do in my business in general, but especially on LinkedIn. So after you spend a week or so, I mean, it could be a few days if you have a lot of time on your hands. I only spend about 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn, Monday to Friday. It's like, this is like what I do, but I have to have boundaries because I have a business to run, and I'm sure you guys have jobs to do. So once you do that social listening, join in. Like start talking to people, comment on other people's comments, comment on people's posts. I would not recommend connecting with people right away and sending them like a cold, connection note like, hey, I saw you were in this industry and I am too, let's connect. People are gonna be like, what? I don't care. Like, I don't care that we're in the same industry. I want to talk to you a little bit more and get to know you, because I think something that people always confuse is like a connection isn't a warm lead. They're just, a lot of people connect with anyone who connects with them. So you can't just assume, oh, well, I got this connection, therefore I can hop on a sales call immediately with this person. No, that's not how it works. I would totally recommend just commenting and engaging with them in advance. And then my personal goal, and you can take this or not, is when I connect with them, I don't even want to have to send a note. I want them to already know who I am. I don't want to have to introduce myself, nothing. I want them to be like, oh yeah, that was that person that left that really cool comment on my post. Yeah, I totally want to connect with them, because then you can start the conversation in the DMs. And if you're a salesperson in the chat, that's where the magic happens, is in those personal conversations. As I mentioned earlier, do this consistently. I only do it for 30 minutes a day, seriously. And I spend that 30 minutes a day super focused, and I'm like, okay, DMs, okay, connections, okay, notifications, okay, like I sometimes spend 45 minutes because I have a lot going on, usually on Mondays, but usually 30 minutes is a perfect block of time for me to answer all my DMs, to look at all of my notifications, respond to comments, and comment on a few posts. That's pretty much what I do every day on LinkedIn. The importance here, and I want to emphasize this again, is to do it consistently. So when I launched this new strategy back in March of this year, actually. So again, like I had said, I've been spending years refining this process, and this is the one I've been using all year. As soon as I redid my profile and then started engaging consistently Monday through Friday, within 2 weeks, I had 2 new clients. And most of my clients pay me over 4 figures. So you can every month, monthly. So you can kind of guess that there are big players on LinkedIn. There's people who want to hire you, they want to engage with you, but you have to do it in an authentic way. And that's the piece that most people miss when they're doing it on LinkedIn, because they're like, oh, this is a business platform, I can just be really stoic and businessy. No, actually being personable, being authentic, that's what's winning on LinkedIn right now. Okay, moving on. Obviously, the benefits of engaging. Visibility on the platform. So LinkedIn actually has like 19 times more visibility organically than any other platform. That's why it's like 96% of B2B marketers are using LinkedIn, because that organic reach is insane. Specifically when you comment on other people's posts. So if you comment on someone else's comment, or you comment on someone else's post, or you comment on someone else's comment on someone else's post, you get a lot of visibility, because the people who are in that thread will see your comment. The people who see that post some later time will see your comment. The people who are also commenting on that post will see your comment. All of these people are seeing your comment. And if you provide a really nice comment that's really thoughtful, rather than just like good post, if you actually provide something thoughtful and worth conversation, people will be wanting to engage with you. That's really how you get the ball rolling. Connection with your audience. What I mean by that is you just get that heart to heart. You get that one-on-one. It feels a lot more authentic. For me, it feels better than cold messaging, cold calling, that sort of stuff. It feels better than even like commenting on a Facebook post on my company page, because I'm a person behind the business and I want to engage with people as a person, not necessarily as Qatari Creative. So I like having that connection. And then more meaningful sales qualification. Like I said, all comes back to meaningful conversations, but specifically with sales qualification, you can qualify them in the DMs. So then you don't have to waste time on like a half hour to an hour long sales call that ends up going nowhere, because they don't need what you're selling. So being able to do that qualification in advance keeps them not only as a lead for later, if you do another offer or something, but it also makes sure that you're not wasting your time on sales calls that you don't really need to be on. Okay, I've kind of touched on some of these, but here's some quick tips on engagement. So like I said earlier, we'll go back. Don't be boring. So by that, I mean, don't leave like a 2-word comment, or don't leave like a, wow, that's really great, or yeah, that's a good point. Give me something more. Like, I want to have a conversation with you. That's why I'm posting on LinkedIn. Give me your opinion. Tell me something that's a little controversial. Tell me a story. Tell me, pick a point from the post and say, you know what, I think this is kind of off. Here's what I would think instead. Controversy really works well, as long as, of course, you're not being a dick. Like, don't be a dick. But you can have an opinion. Don't be afraid to be a person and have an opinion. And I think that that's like the quickest way to start conversation. This is one for people who maybe are a little bit different than me and don't do like time-based, but they like having a task-based. So for me, I try to aim for at least 10 comments a day on LinkedIn. So that's on other people's posts, that's on other people's comments. That's not necessarily on my own posts when I'm replying to other people's comments. That way you're getting out there to at least 10 people's networks, and then of course everyone that's in that thread to their networks as well. And just set a goal for yourself. That's really what I can recommend. And then keep the conversation going. The best tip I have for this is ask questions. If you can't think of anything to say, if you don't have an opinion, if you don't have a story, if you're just like, I really want to engage with this person, but I have no idea what to talk about, ask them a question, and then they'll probably engage with you. All right, now on to the meat of things. Do you have to create content on LinkedIn? Naturally, this is something I could talk like a whole other hour about, but I won't. I'll save your time. I'll save your energy. A few stats here. Content creation is up 60%. I mentioned that earlier. 96% of B2B content marketers use LinkedIn. I mentioned that earlier as well. LinkedIn has 15 times more content impressions than job posts. So if you post a job on Indeed, for example, and you post about something on LinkedIn, not a job post, but you post a profile post, like a personal profile post in your feed, that's going to have 15 times more reach than job posts. So you can, do the math there with how incredible that is. And then of course, 80% of B2B content marketers use LinkedIn ads. I personally don't use LinkedIn ads. I do think they're a little bit broken right now. They've got to figure it out, because they're really expensive and then they don't give you a lot of reach. So it depends on your audience. And I would definitely recommend testing it if you have the budget and if you have a really good ad agency to help you out with that. But in terms of what ads I would invest in right now, keep in mind I am an organic marketer, so take my advertising advice with a grain of salt, I would still invest in Facebook ads for now because they're cheaper and they still do have better reach, even though the reach is kind of going down because Facebook is getting greedy. But I really hope that LinkedIn does figure out their ads soon, because I know, just like the organic content, they could be so powerful and so much more powerful than even organic content is. So with all that in mind, my personal opinion is actually no. You don't have to create content on LinkedIn to be successful. So naturally, I'm a writer. Of course, I enjoy writing content. For me, I feel like I sort of have to, because it's an ability to showcase my work. It's ability to showcase how I can do, like, like I'm practicing what I preach, right? But at the same time, I actually don't think I have to in order to be successful on LinkedIn, because where the magic happens on LinkedIn is, again, those meaningful conversations, which happens in engagement. So if you can't do anything, you have no time. If you're like, I have 10 minutes a day, I would focus on engaging on LinkedIn. I wouldn't focus on trying to create content. I wouldn't even focus on, trying to like build your connections list. I would focus on engaging with people on the platform and then moving them to your DMs so that you can qualify them in a sales call, hopefully, if they need what you're looking for, or they're looking for what you sell. So at the end of this all, I want you to take away these 4 things. Just know your audience. So really come into this with a strategy. It'll help you not feel so overwhelmed and scrambled and like, I don't know what I'm doing. If you know who you're trying to target, if you know what conversations you're trying to have, and you know where you're trying to lead them to from LinkedIn, because at the end of the day, you want them to go off LinkedIn to become, a client of your business. Those 3 things, you will have so much success that like you'll be focused, you will know exactly what like people you're targeting, what conversations you want to have with them, and how that leads to selling your service. Like it's a very simple funnel, but it's really easy to also get overwhelmed and kind of off track. Show up consistently. I can't recommend this enough. I pushed it earlier. I'll push it again, because it's in that consistency that the LinkedIn algorithm actually starts feeding you more and more reach and more opportunities to connect and more opportunities to have those conversations. LinkedIn is smart. It knows if you're just posting and ghosting. It knows if you're like just leaving comments like, hey, good post. It knows when you're not giving first to it. And then because you're not giving first, it's not going to give back. I find over time, when I continue to post consistently, my posts get better reach, and they could be kind of the same like quality of posts. And I've actually run a test on this. I posted something recently that I posted a year ago, and it got way more reach, and it was the same exact post. So there is something about the LinkedIn algorithm that's like, hey, this is a quality post and you can blow up. I've had a client who we were working together for like a week, and we posted something about food because they're a food entrepreneur, and they got like 15,000 views, and they had like less than 500 connections. So those kind of unicorn things can happen, but don't bet on it. I would show up consistently, do that half hour a day or whatever you can give. If you can give more, give more. If you can give less, that's fine. Like I said, if you only have 10 minutes a day, engage consistently. Always continue the conversation, of course. Like I said, people will give you short answers sometimes, and sometimes it can be really frustrating to continue that conversation. This is where I ask a question, because I know this person would love what I'm offering. I know that I can help them. I know that they're like where I was at, when I was them, because I do a lot of coaching, for example, for people like me who are freelance writers who are trying to build a business that can sustain themselves. So I know this person. I know that they need what I have, and that I can do it in an authentic way, and I can create a meaningful conversation around whatever they're struggling with. But if they're giving me like, oh, haha, yeah, that was a good point, it's kind of hard to continue that conversation. That's when I ask a question. And then, of course, like I said earlier, always have a next step. So again, the end goal isn't to get them to your DMs. The end goal is to get them on a call or wherever you want them on your website, to watch this video that shows them, your product, to look at this sales brochure that you created that's really awesome and everyone needs to see it because you love it. Your email newsletter, another social media if you feel like you're better on Facebook or Instagram, or your TikTok if you're super savvy. Have that next step in mind, so that when you're bringing people from like the ether of LinkedIn into your connections, into your DMs, you have that last spot. That's where you're really finding the conversions there. Shannon asks, does the time of day matter? Should you mix it up? That's something I would test. It depends on where your audience is at, but I imagine a lot of you are probably based in Alaska, working with Alaskans. So I try to aim for around 8 to 10 a.m. in the morning. That's where I find the best engagement happening. And because, of course, we're so far behind the rest of the world, that's still part of other people's work days all the way in like the East Coast in the rest of the United States. So you can get a lot of engagement within that time window I've found. But honestly, some days I'm on there at like 1 p.m. Some days I'm on there. Honestly, I was on LinkedIn last night at like 2 in the morning. I'll be real with you guys. Like sometimes I show up on LinkedIn because I want to keep talking about these things or my brain can't go to sleep. So no, it doesn't necessarily matter in terms of like you have to do it this time of day or else you're gonna never find success. But I have found for Alaskans, 8 to 10 a.m. works really well. So in summary, we've covered a lot today and I'm excited to hear what you guys think, what you have questions about. Feel free to start putting those in the chat because that's coming next. But first things first, make your profile about one thing. So remember how I was saying it's all a story, it all comes wrapped up neatly together. It all kind of, it's really tightly packaged. It's because I'm only talking about one thing. I'm talking about what I do. And that's one thing. I help you create more meaningful conversations online, period. And I do that in a couple different ways, sure. But what I do is I help you create those conversations online. So figure out that one thing and make every single piece of your profile about that. Your headline, your banner, your featured, it has stuff that supports that claim. Your experience, it's like, hey, this is what I do. This is how I do it. This is how you can get in contact with me. You have links in those experiences to maybe a sales brochure, your calling, a portfolio, whatever that is. Make your profile about one thing and people will immediately be able to identify, okay, this person can help me or this person can't. And that's okay if you can't because you want to attract people that you can't help, obviously. 2, show up consistently to see the big wins. Like I said earlier, when I launched the strategy in March of this year, within 2 weeks, I had 2 new clients. And those are pretty big clients. I think they were my biggest clients to date at that time. So I was pretty excited. There are big fish on LinkedIn. You just have to show them that you can be consistent and that you really want their business and that you're not going to do it in a way that's super pushy and be like, hey, you should buy my product. Hey, you should buy my product. Hey, let's get on a sales call. Hey, you don't know me, but you know, we can get on a call. Yeah, no, let's do a call. Yeah, totally. 15 minutes. No, easy. It's like, no, I don't care. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you care about. I don't know what you value. You know, people are doing business with people on LinkedIn. So be a person, show consistently, be authentic. Last thing, only create content if you really want to or have a reason to. For me, my reason is I'm a writer. I want to practice what I preach. I want to be able to show you what I can do through the content I put online. But if you don't have a reason to, or if you don't have really something really important to say, or if you just don't have time, like don't stress about it. Engagement is where the magic happens. Focus on that. And that's it. That's everything. So that was a lot of information, I know. We have a lot of time still. It's still about half an hour left. So feel free to hop in the chat. If not, I do have a little bit more to talk about, but let's get some questions in. And feel free to unmute if you want to as well, whatever you'd like to do. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Sarah, I've got a question. How do employers search your profile, and where is the best place to put keywords on your LinkedIn profile?
Really good question. Keywords is a huge thing because like I mentioned earlier, LinkedIn has that search function. So naturally you can optimize that. SEO applies to any search function. So search engine optimization is totally a real thing in LinkedIn. And where they find your profile is honestly by searching your title. You know, if I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for a resume writer, I'm gonna look up resume writer. You know, you gotta get into the mind of your audience and what they're searching for. They're not necessarily looking for resume writing services. They're looking for a resume writer. They're looking for a person. So the best places to put any of your keywords was definitely your headline. So put that title or multiple titles in your headline. I actually just updated my profile recently, but before I had a bunch of titles like freelance B2B copywriter, content creator, LinkedIn nerd, resume writer, all of these titles after, my cute little intro to the headline. You have a lot of space on the headline. I'm pretty sure it's about 200 characters or so, if not more. So you have a lot of space there to really kind of put some titles there, put some keywords in, etc. Another place that's more recent is the creator function. If you turn that creator function on, it'll let you pick like hashtags that you talk about. You can put your keyword in those hashtags too. because that's another function that pops up. And then naturally throughout everything else too. So in your about section or the summary, the first line is the only line people see until they click see more. So if you want to let people know what you do really well, put your keyword in that first line. And then of course as well, in your experience, you can make that title, you can put that in the experience description, you can put that in your other experience descriptions. There's a lot of places that you can put the keywords, but I'd say the big ones is the headline, those creator hashtags for like what you talk about, and you can turn that on by going to your profile. There's a little button you'll see when you're in your own profile, and then in that about section. Those are the top 3 places that your keywords will be best. Someone asked in the chat, I somehow have only the first letter of my last name listed publicly. I've tried to update it, but it must be doing it wrong. Can you show us how to do that? For sure. Yeah, so I will actually hop out of this and we'll go back to my profile. Actually, we'll go to just LinkedIn. If I can type. And I'll show you where to find it from the home page. This is a big one too, actually. Part of updating your profile is taking a look at your settings. Your settings are really big in terms of how people can find you on LinkedIn, if they can find you off LinkedIn, what they see when they view your profile, and a lot more, including your data privacy. So if you haven't looked at your settings and privacy on LinkedIn in quite a while, if you haven't looked at your profile on LinkedIn in quite a while, I would definitely come here. So it's going to be in visibility. And then, so you have a couple of options here. So profile viewing options, you can do, this is for people on the platform, so they see everything. And that doesn't address the name problem, but it does address, what are they seeing? So you'll see some people who have these profile pictures are not profile pictures more aptly, and that's because they have those settings private. And if I can recommend anything to you guys, it's to be as open as possible as you're comfortable with. Obviously, there's a lot of sectors and industries that kind of have compliance stuff and those sorts of things, but your profile can still be very public without like all of your dirty laundry being aired out. So in visibility to the person in the chat, you can just click who can see your last name. And that's it. You just literally click your full name versus, the Sarah K. And then you can choose people to see your connection list. You can see if people can download your email address. I don't let people download it because that is like an open box for spam to come my way. But if you want to, or if it's like a work email, or if it's something that you're not too worried about, feel free to do that too. And then there's a lot of other things here as well. So profile visibility off LinkedIn, I like making that one. So it was late last year, LinkedIn actually started being shown on Google SEO. So Google actually can index your portfolio or your profile now and your posts. So if you have a profile post that does really well, that addresses a problem, you can actually find that post on Google by searching whatever that post is about. So one of the first things that pops up on Google for me is actually my LinkedIn profile, which in my opinion is great, but that's definitely where you can update that, representing organizations, etc. Profile updates with your network is one I actually turn off. So this is the one that's like anniversaries, birthdays, etc. A lot of people have that function on, and it's an interesting function. But what this does for me actually is it doesn't notify people when I update my profile. And I update my profile a lot. So I don't want people to always be constantly notified when that's happening. I'd rather them just come back to my profile and be like, oh, wow, like this is different. So I do recommend share profile updates with your network to be turned off, but of course that's your decision to make. Communications, this is how LinkedIn can get in touch with you, invitations, research invites, read receipts, all that sort of stuff. Data privacy, so you can get a copy of your data anytime. You can manage what data LinkedIn gets from you, all of your personal demographics, job seeking stuff, do you share your profile when you click apply or not? This is for more like, of course, job seekers. Sign-in security, definitely recommend putting that two-factor authentication on. That's just super important. That's kind of basic cybersecurity in my opinion. And then, where you're signed in and all that sort of stuff. There's one last thing that I want to find. That's really interesting to me. I think it's invisibility. I must have just gone past it. Maybe they took it off. There was there was a section where it showed like other people viewed, and it showed other people who were like in the same industry with the same keywords as you. And it's like, no, I don't want that on. That shows my competition. But they must have turned it off, which is good because, you know, why would anyone want that? So I hope that answers that question for the anonymous asker in the chat. Keep them coming. I want to answer these questions for you. I love LinkedIn. I love talking about this. Feel free to unmute and ask some more. If I didn't answer the questions that you came in with, you know, let's keep talking about this.
Hi, Sarah. I had a question about kind of more directing search to where I can search for people inside of specific industries, inside of specific companies. Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, we'll hop right back to LinkedIn.
Well,
So
specifically searching inside of LinkedIn, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you put in the search engine doesn't really matter, but so something that I search a lot is CMOs, because I am in marketing and I like talking to CMOs because they're usually the people who hire me inside my checks. So within CMO, it doesn't really matter from here, because what you want to go to do is go to all filters. And this is where everything is beautiful. So first connections is people you're already connected with. Second connections is someone you're just 1 degree away from with. So someone that's in your network is connected with them. And then third plus is of course someone you're not connected with. I really like using the second feature as much as possible, because you already have that little semblance of like, hey, we're connected sort of already. You know, we know the same person. I actually use this function to get a client of mine in that March, like, you know, I got 2 clients in 1 month. What I did was I sent out a cold connection request. And this was something I don't always do, like I said earlier, but it was something I did in this case scenario because I was hosting an event with a popular marketer here in Anchorage, and that person was connected, of course, to another marketing agency owner. So I sent her a cold message and I was like, hey, I see that you're connected to this person. I'm actually hosting an event about LinkedIn marketing with this person here soon. I would love to connect and learn, you know, like, and hear if you guys are doing LinkedIn marketing at XYZ agency, or if not. And then she connected and she's like, hey, I gotta be honest with you, I'm looking for a content manager. And I was like, sweet, you found the right person. And so you can actually add the connections of that person. So that's what I did. I added the person who I was doing the event with here. Locations, you can get really broad or really small. So, you know, let's just do Alaska for the sake of Alaska. And then current company, if you are, this is perfect if you're targeting a specific company. Rarely I am, but if you are, you can look at the companies or past companies. Maybe if you worked at Google or Microsoft or another company in town, this would be a great one to be like, hey, we worked at the same company, let's connect. Same thing with school. If you guys are both alumni to the same school, that's just another degree of similarity that you can have with this person. Naturally, industry is where I'm interested at. So we'll do marketing and advertising, and we'll do tech because I do tech as well. Profile language, it doesn't really matter, but we'll do English just for the sake of it. This one's new, open to pro bono consulting and volunteering or joining a nonprofit board. Not really my interest. And then if you know what kind of service categories you serve best. So obviously marketing strategy, digital marketing, and then I'll do like IT consulting, and we'll do AI. No, maybe not. We'll do IT consulting too. And then this last one, this is the big one, is the title. That's where I personally, I think that's where most of the magic happens. All of these other stuff is like the service categories, second connections, and their locations, and then their title. Those are like the 4 areas that I would really hone in on. Everything else is kind of just like dessert, you know. But you can get really focused. And again, to people who didn't hear me earlier, I have the free version of LinkedIn. I'm not paying for premium here. This is what they give you for free. And that's pretty insane in my opinion. It's awesome, it's great, but it's pretty insane. So we did do Alaska. So there's one person in Alaska that fits all of those categories. In a bigger place, you will find more connections. And if you take off some of these, you will find more opportunities as well. I did every single piece that I could. So of course, there's not going to be that many in Alaska because Alaskans aren't really using LinkedIn yet. And that's why I think it's really exciting that you guys are all here, because LinkedIn is gaining popularity in like the broad global world we live in. But in Alaska, people really aren't utilizing it a lot, but people are still on it. So if you come in and you start, doing these things that we've talked about today, you will start getting really popular on LinkedIn and probably, wherever you're at too. So I'm actually probably going to connect with this person. I won't do it now. I'll just take a screenshot and I'll connect with them later. But that's a person that I want to talk to, right? They're a CMO at a media company. They offer strategy, software, and marketing for apparently probably small businesses or people that I also serve. So that's a person that I want to talk to. I hope that helped. We can go through something for you, Shannon, if you want to tell me who you're targeting, and we can walk through that together, or whatever you'd like.
Oh, no, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. No issue at all. All right. Anyone else got questions? Anyone struggling with something on LinkedIn? Got something they really want to like figure out? I would love to hear them. Keep an eye on the chat. If not, that's cool too, because I like I said earlier, I love talking about content as well. And I think that content is really successful on LinkedIn. If you do it well, you do it consistently, and you do it in a way that's engaging. So content, in my opinion, is a whole other beast. Like today we covered a lot on just like how to get your profile set up, how to start engaging on LinkedIn, and how to start building that consistency. Creating content on LinkedIn, I could probably talk about in a whole nother presentation, and honestly, I probably will in the future. And content in particular is interesting on LinkedIn because they, like I said earlier, they're really focusing on creators recently. So they want you to post content, but they don't want you to post content that takes people off their site. And they don't want you to post content that's unoriginal. It's kind of interesting because, so one of the very basics of posting content on LinkedIn is don't put a link in the content. Put a link in the comments below. Because if you put a link in the content, LinkedIn's gonna be like, hey, that's not LinkedIn. You're trying to take people off my site. That's not cool. So they're not gonna give you a reach on that post. So the workaround there, of course, like I said earlier, is to put link in the comments. And I actually did that for this. I put a post up for this presentation actually, and I put my link in my comments. In terms of which kinds of posts do well on LinkedIn, there actually isn't any proven data that sways one way or another. I think personally, of course, text posts do well for me because I'm a writer. Like I write really well, or at least I think I do. And the text posts do well because I focus on writing good content. But you could also leverage, for example, PDF documents. So you can actually upload PDFs onto LinkedIn, which I love because you can't do that anywhere else. And what it shows up as on LinkedIn is like an Instagram carousel. So people can swipe through it and they can look through that PDF. So what I tend to do is make a LinkedIn carousel and export it to a PDF. And so there I have more content on LinkedIn that's more visual. And if you guys know anything about kind of like basic social media psychology, people are looking at visuals before they're looking at words. So if you don't write really well, or you're a little bit nervous, or you're not sure what to write, you can lean heavier on stuff like a carousel, which is a PDF document in LinkedIn. Images, of course, that are, anything really, an image of yourself can do well. An image that's just like a quote sometimes does well. It has to be specific. You can't be generic here. Or something that would do well on Instagram would likely also do well on LinkedIn. Again, if the copy is relevant to the image. And then of course, videos too. Something that has been happening since honestly, like beginning of 2019, is people are starting to share more generic stuff on LinkedIn. So motivational videos, memes, funny videos, a lot of like inspirational stuff that's like quick, where like I remember seeing something that blew up that was about like Tony Hawk helping a 9-year-old girl do her first drop off. It's like, what is that relevant to anything on LinkedIn or like business or, doing business with people? It's not, because like I said a lot during today's talk, LinkedIn wants you to do business with people. And so it does reward you for showing up as a real person. And I think other people on LinkedIn also are sick of like the whole, the vibe that LinkedIn used to have, which is like, it's really boring, it's really stoic, it's really professional, like you have to be suited up, you can only have headshots. Like, no, actually, people are posting more selfies, people are using less professional photos for their profile pictures, people are cursing more on the platform, as you saw on my profile. People are becoming more authentic because that's where the real conversations happen. And I don't know about you guys, but I want to do business with people I actually like and who like me, and we can relate on more than just like we have the same business goal. Like, I want to like this person. I want to be able to talk to this person and be able to be real with this person, because ultimately, like, a lot of what I do is marketing, consulting, and strategy. And that is so personal. Like, that's so different for every single person. It's so different for every single brand. That's so different for, every single audience. You can have multiple audiences in the same business. And so the strategy that we put on LinkedIn is going to be so different from the strategy that we put on Instagram. And if a client's trying to do the same at both, I have to be able to tell them that that's not a good idea. And if, we don't have that kind of rapport, it's sometimes hard to do that. So definitely focus on being authentic and not being scared to have an opinion, not being scared to be a little controversial. Anything that you think might be something you couldn't say in like a business meeting, I guarantee you can probably say it on LinkedIn. Again, I said this earlier, don't be rude, like don't just like be a dick for no reason, but you can have an opinion. Like, don't be afraid to speak up and be yourself. Other than that, content it evolves constantly. So the best thing that I can recommend if you're interested in doing content on LinkedIn or creating content on LinkedIn is to look at what other people in your industry are doing. Look at what other people who are in another industry on LinkedIn that are doing really well, what they're doing, because chances are you can bring some new concepts into your industry that no one else is doing, that maybe you just stole from someone else's industry. Like, stole being a really light word there, because no art is original, like everything is derivative. So don't be afraid to like get inspiration from all across LinkedIn and bring it into your content strategy. All right, we're about 10 minutes out. Any more questions from anyone? Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so I'm trying to connect with this motivational speaker that I follow, and is hitting connect like a personal actual connection versus followings? I hit follow, and will I see that person's content on the feed, or do I hit connect? I mean, what's the difference? How do I just want to view some of his content, and as opposed to like making a personal connection, what's the difference?
Yeah, no, you are exactly right. You're on the right path. Following means that you will see their content, but the person you followed won't see that you followed them. Whereas if you connect, that person will get that connection request in their network tab, and it'll show up as your profile will show up in their connections, and they have the opportunity to either decline or accept that. And then that's also a place where you can leave a note if you'd like to in a connection. So if you just want to follow someone, LinkedIn has now given you that follow feature, which is great. And you can just follow their stuff. And it's nice because that's now a public feature. That used to be only something that you could do with Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator is like one of the most premium versions of LinkedIn. LinkedIn has tiers of premium. And you could, like, within Sales Navigator, you get a whole CRM system within LinkedIn. So it's pretty cool, but you don't need it. You can just use like spreadsheets, or I use Notion to track my leads. And you can follow people on LinkedIn now. So you really don't need all that. But if you are spending a lot of time on LinkedIn, like recruiters are, probably like CMOs are, or account managers, salespeople are, then that is beneficial to those people. But to a small fish, to someone who is spending half an hour a day on LinkedIn, I don't need to be spending $100 a month for LinkedIn. Hope that answered your question, Dave. Kenny says, if you had a business page and a personal page, is it better to post on the biz one and share to the personal one? No, actually. Your personal profile gets so much more reach than company pages. That being said, I do have a company page on LinkedIn, but I don't really post on it. I have a company page on LinkedIn so that the logo next to my business actually shows up on my experience on my personal page. That's pretty much the only reason I created a business page on LinkedIn. That being said, it is hard to break away from like not posting on your company's branding, your company's pages. So what I'd recommend is actually the opposite, Candy. Post on your business page. All right, you said that. Yeah, post on your business page and share your personal one. I would do that. Or you could do, I wouldn't do the opposite because it would look a little weird in my opinion, but I guess it would depend on the post. So like if you on your personal page are posting about an awesome achievement you guys have done, then I would post on your business page, because again, that shows or I'd share it to your business page, I mean, from your personal page, because that shows, you know, again, there's people behind this brand. There's people who are in this business who are, you know, who are also active on LinkedIn, but we're really proud of our people too, you know, as a business. So it's just being able to silo those brands because they are different. Your company brand is more of this like faceless general big brand that can talk to everyone, and you know there's not necessarily like a direct individual that people can see behind that, where naturally your personal profile is only you. So be careful with it. I would recommend focus more on your personal profile because you'll get much more reach. LinkedIn again wants people to do business with people, but if you do want to post on your company page just to keep that active, I'm not going to like not recommend that. It's a good idea, but personally it's a lot of content to create too. So do what is sustainable, do what you can do consistently. Don't try to overwhelm yourself with doing too much, because that's how you will do really well one week and then like just like stop, you know, stop doing it. What works well is doing it consistently. That's why I have those boundaries for myself of half an hour a day only, Monday to Friday. LinkedIn on the weekend, who's that? Don't know her. So do what you can do. Don't try to do too much, and be real with yourself. If it's only 10 minutes a day because you've got a lot going on at work, do that. It's totally fine. Just remember to focus on engaging more than posting content. I hope that answered your question, Candy. And thank you for asking it as well. Okay, we're coming down to the last 5 minutes. I will have these slides available. So if you want this presentation, email me at sarah@kataracreative.com, and I would be happy to send those your way. And you know, I can just send you the link to the Canva presentation so you can have it on your Canva if you have a premium account forever. I love doing that because it's like, oh, look at all this cool stuff I've done in the past. But naturally, this event has been part of Startup Week, as you all know. I do want to plug it one last time because Startup Week is such a cool event, in my opinion. We do it every November. This year I'm the Anchorage lead, so I have a lot of like excitement over being Anchorage's support here. But there's a ton of events that you can find at alaska.startupweek.co. I'll put it in the chat, where you can find open houses. Jennifer from Beacon Media and Marketing is doing an SEO event tomorrow at noon, or maybe one around lunchtime. There's Accelerate Alaska, that's a conference happening in Anchorage. There's Kodiak Brews is doing a virtual event to show you their warehouse. Like, there's so many different conversations happening about diversity, about small businesses, about funding, getting funding for a startup, all that sort of stuff. I think it's a really cool event. I think you guys should go check out more things if you can, if you have time. But other than that, if you want to continue to follow along in what I'm doing here in LinkedIn or wherever I'm headed, I will drop one more link in the chat to my email newsletter. It says /course because my email newsletter is actually about this process of me building a LinkedIn course. So I'm not selling it. It's not available yet. I'm in the process of building it, but I really like that give first mentality. So I'm going to be writing a newsletter about the crazy, messy process of launching my very first course. That'll happen to be about LinkedIn marketing. But other than that, I think that wraps everything up. Tiana, I know that you have a survey link that everyone on Alaska Startup has been sharing, so feel free to post that in the chat for me. If you found this event helpful, if you're interested in finding more events in Alaska Startup Week, or if you really didn't like this event, like, I want that feedback. Like, do not be afraid to tell me negative feedback, because I want to improve, and I want to encourage you to do that on LinkedIn too. Like I said, it's okay to be controversial. I like people who have opinions because I like real people. Everyone on LinkedIn does too. And I'm just gonna wait for that link to come through from Tiana, and that way you can fill that out. This event's also recorded, so if you email me again at sarah@kataricreative.com, you can get this recording, or you can get the slides, or you can get both, or you can get neither. You can just say, hey, hi, how you doing? I'm happy to like chat with any of you guys here on specific questions you have that come up as you go through all of this, whatever it may be. Tiana just posted that link in the chat. It's a Google form. Please fill that out if you found this helpful or you hated it one way or another. I would love to hear your feedback. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Tiana. feel free to hop off if you're all good to go. I really appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much for showing up. Hope you have a good rest of your week. Thank you, Cody.